So, someone actually reached out to me and they requested that I made this video on this specific topic. And honestly, I'm so glad that they did because it really forced me to look at bad habits that are frustrating to a lot of us. So let me ask you, have you ever walked away from a hangout or just hung up the phone after being on a long conversation? You sat back and then you realize, wow, I know absolutely everything about this person. I know everything about this person's life right now, but they don't know a single thing about mine or me. You realize that you just spent hours just nodding your head and just listening to them talk about their problems and their life, or either just talking highly about themselves. But the moment you try to bring up anything that's going on in your life right now, they either look past you or they immediately switch the topic right back to themselves. They didn't ask you a single follow-up question about anything that you mentioned. They didn't even ask you how your week was going or how are you feeling today, because they weren't interested. And if it's not about them, I feel like they're not trying to hear it. The only thing that you're good for is listening to them complain or either just listening to them pump themselves up to be more than what they really are. That's it. And I'm sharing this with you today because this is something that actually happened to me. And it was someone that I was very close friends with. I can remember going through a very difficult, tough time, and I finally had the courage to open up to her about it. And I needed a friend to lean on and someone who would just comfort me and listen. So as I started to open up and let her know how overwhelmed and stressed I was feeling, I couldn't even finish my sentence before she cut me off and said, "Oh my God, I know exactly what you mean. I'm so stressed out with work today." I swear she went into a 20-minute rant about her job. She never asked me a single follow-up question about what we were discussing. And at that point, I realized my pain didn't even matter to her. She can care less because she made the whole conversation about her and the stress that she was going through at work. So let's just be honest. People love talking about themselves. And we all know this. And if you pay attention, it usually boils down to a few major reasons. We have people out there that are control freaks. They need to dominate the topic because letting you talk, it means risking the conversation that they can't control or a moment where they're not the center of attention. They think that constantly rambling about their own day, they're keeping the vibe going. But really, they just hate the back and forth exchange. It takes the spotlight off of them. Then you have the people that only talk about themselves because they feel like they're trying to be relatable or funny. They're trying to find a way to connect with you. So if you tell them that you're dealing with a stressful situation at work or maybe at home, their immediate instinct is to say, "Oh, I know exactly what you mean. Let me tell you about what happened to me the other day." They think that they're showing you empathy by sharing a similar situation or experience, but it completely misses the mark. They just completely stole your moment. Your experience didn't get validated. It just became convenient for them to talk about themselves again. That's it. But let's not sugarcoat the other side of this. A lot of the times, people just are flat out full of themselves, and they want you to see them exactly how they see themselves in their own head. They need the attention, they need the validation, and they need you to applaud them. It's just pure ego. They're too self-centered to even care about or be aware of how they're draining they are to be around. Think about what that does to everyday interactions. People have gotten so consumed by their own thoughts and just thinking about that next thing that they're going to say. They're not even present for the conversation because the only thing that they can focus on is their turn to talk. And better believe the conversation is going into a different direction once you hand them the mic. Now I got to say this because I know myself and being the person that I am, I wouldn't be able to continue sitting there listening to you talk about yourself all day. And I don't think you should have to sit there and take it either. You have to learn to drive the conversation. If they interrupt your story or talk about theirs, just acknowledge it and pivot. Just say, dang, that's crazy. So acknowledge whatever they said, and then you hit them with, but anyway, like I was saying, and pull that steering wheel back and get into that driver's seat again. And as soon as you get a pause in a conversation, just tell them, man, you had a crazy week. But I actually have news on my end too. Let me tell you about what happened yesterday. Now let's pivot for a second though. For those of you watching this who are sitting there thinking, oh man, I think I'm the one who does this. It may be me who's guilty of only wanting to talk about myself. First of all, thank you for the self-awareness. Seriously. I know that probably took a lot, but it's time to consciously just step outside of your own world for a minute. You have to learn how to let someone else have the floor, without you trying to outdo them or instantly just tying their life back to your own achievements. Stop trying to one up people. If a friend comes to you and tells you that they finally bought a house or got a promotion or even had a really good workout, let them have their moment. Let them finish a thought without you turning it into a story of your own about yourself. You don't need to counter their win with the bigger win. You don't need to match their stress with worse stress. Just sit in that moment with them. Honestly, it sounds easy. It sounds like a really easy thing to do, but it's definitely going to take some practice. And that's okay, because your brain wants that instant dopamine hit, which comes from talking about yourself. So like I said, it's going to be hard because you are breaking a habit. So the next time you feel that urge to just interrupt someone with your own story, just catch yourself. Keep your mouth shut. Use the 2-second rule. So when they finish speaking, pause for 2 seconds. Pause for 2 seconds before you talk. Force yourself to just ask at least one follow-up question about whatever you guys were conversating or discussing. Shift that spotlight away from your own ego. You'll be so amazed how much closer you actually get to others when you stop treating a conversation like it's a competition. With that being said, I hope you got value from this video. I hope you understood my perspective. And thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.